Bets are definitely on, and the frenzy has reached fever pitch. This is March Madness we're talking about. Here's some interesting numbers. Did you know $9 billion is spent on betting on who will be the collegiate championship basketball team, and that's more than double than was spent gambling on the Super Bowl. So, what's March Madness here in the U.S.? Let us help you. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, 68 teams will battle it out to be number one. UCLA in Los Angeles has the most titles, 11, and they've won their opening game. All the games are free to watch on television or online. As you can guess, many workers, and I mean many, many workers, are thought to slack off a little bit as they keep track of their bets, and you know who I'm talking about, you are friends in the control room. And one firm thinks that $1.2 billion could be lost in productivity. I have no idea how they calculate that, but I think our friend, Owen Fairclough is with me, and maybe you can help explain some of this stuff. And it's probably, we start by admitting that you and I were watching some of the games earlier, and this is a lot of fun, though.
All in the name of research, Phil. Absolutely. Of course, college basketball, and the NBA is a global brand. College basketball here in the US, perhaps not quite as well known outside of its borders, and yet many of the best players who've ever been in the game started life in these US colleges. Michael Jordan, probably the best player to ever actually play the game here in the US. He went to North Carolina University. More current NBA stars as well. They all had a similar academic background. I'm talking about the likes of Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors, Carmelo Anthony, and Jeremy Lin, who's a big hit, of course, with Asian fans. Now, those players are multi-millionaires. In the case of Michael Jordan, a billionaire. Much of that money made, not just from their salaries, but from licensing deals and the money they make from their names being lent to products and licensing rights and so on.
You know why I love college basketball? Because they don't get paid, right? because no, seriously, the players are playing because they love the game. And this has been controversial because some are now saying that, hey, wait a minute, they're making billions for universities. They're making billions for TV networks. Should they get paid? What's going on here?
$10 billion, Phil. There's a figure for you. That's the amount over the course of this existing TV licensing deal that the college authorities are making from showing all of these dozens of games every year, around $800 million a year. Advertising revenue makes up most of that. For a 30-second slot for this year's championships, you're looking at around $1.5 million. Now, it's true that's not as much as the Super Bowl you mentioned earlier. At the Super Bowl, you'd pay around $4.5 million for that same advertising slot. But we're talking about dozens of games here across the course of a fortnight or 3 weeks. Another important figure for you, the average student debt here in the United States is $28,000. And many of these players are saying if they got paid to play in this tournament, maybe they could offset some of those debts. The question is, should they be paid? Well, inevitably, we headed down to a bar here in Washington, D.C. to ask the fans if they felt these players should be paid.
I don't believe that the students should get paid because they're there first and foremost for an education. They're getting their ticket paid for the most part because they're on scholarships. So I think once they turn professional, they should get paid, but not when they're students.
You know, I do feel bad because there is the possibility that these athletes will be injured during their collegiate career, and they will have produced a lot of income for their school and also for manufacturers that put their name on products.
I think they should be paid. The NCAA is making $9 billion off of these athletes, and they should be paid.
I think that there are a lot of other issues and problems with universities, and paying college athletes should probably be low on the list.
So I guess the university obviously has a reaction to this. The past statement has been, the answer is no.
Well, they were sued effectively, Phil, for this in the last few years. The university authorities say simply that the players are amateurs, they should not receive a salary. They were sued for that over lost licensing rights. We're going to hear in the next few months whether an appeal against the decision that effectively rules in favor of the players will go through. There's lots of horse trading going on right now. It's thought that maybe the players could get around $5,000, but that would be deferred until after they graduate, and they may get a cut of the licensing rights. But again, all this would be deferred until after they graduate. I should add as well, they get sponsorship, they get compensation in the way of getting their tuition fees paid, their accommodation, and so on. So it does have some grey areas, this issue. We're likely to get a decision in the next few months.
We're going to talk about this much more. For now, you and I are going to enjoy the games, Owen. This is good stuff. Thank you.